All right, so we are here to talk about absinthe. Some of you may have seen or may not have seen that we are offering a absinthe tasting for the last call cocktail event that's going on until March 10th, I believe. But what's going to happen is that we're going to continue to run this absinthe cart through the rest of March. And I do expect that the staff learns about the absinthes and also is able to present them at tables. So here's just a brief little breakdown of what we have here. On the cart, we have ourselves a selection of absinthes, ones that are ranging from France, from that Vue Point Lier right there. We have Swiss with the La Clandestine, and we do have an American absinthe as well from St. George, a really popular distillery in California.
Bay
What
Area,
we
right?
wanted to, what's that?
Bay Area, right?
Bay Area, northeast, Northern California. And right here, what we have, this is our absinthe dripper. It has another French, fancy French name that I can get for you, but obviously you just need to know that it's the dripper. The light will be shining onto the absinthe. Now, the absinthe dripper. Now, the thing that we got to understand is how to actually do the service. And you might see that we've got the absinthe dripper set up right here. This is just water. And then we have an empty wine glass. Now, we're going to do 1.5 ounces of the absinthe. Absinthe is really strong. It's anywhere between 100 proof to 150 proof, depending on which one of these absinthes that you grab. And you have a couple different options too in terms of how to actually do the actual service of the absinthe. Now, from what we're going to do is we're going to pour the absinthe into the glass, and then we're going to pour the water into the absinthe. You can either do it with or without an ice cube, or without a sugar cube. The sugar cube is obviously there to make it a little bit sweeter. That's going to be on the cart as well. And what you do, you'll grab some tweezers and grab the sugar from the vessel, and then an absinthe spoon that's going to come out of one of these little carriers over here. And you place the sugar on top of the glass as such. Now, people might ask you to light it on fire. Don't light it on fire unless I'm around. I'll do the fire lighting. I don't want anyone to get burnt up during their shift or off their shift. I don't want you to get caught on, I don't want you to catch on fire, ever. That's just ridiculous. So once we get all of the, we're gonna do this without the sugar today, just so you can kind of get a basic understanding about how this works. And we're gonna use the Vue Point Lier for this first little pour. I'm not gonna pour it with a jigger right now. I'm just gonna pour it to a little bit to the line because there's something that happens that's really magical with absinthe, and what that is, it's called the luge, and we're going to try to get a little bit closer up on this because it really is a super cool thing that happens. It's not necessarily unique to absinthe, but it's one of the best kind of characteristics of it, something to kind of show the quality of the absinthe. So you saw that we poured the absinthe into the cup, and what we're going to do is slowly add water. You turn this little spigot here until it starts to drip on its own. So you see how it's filling up with water right now. Now this is clear. It's a clear spirit. And what's going on is that the water is starting to dilute the actual spirit and make it palatable. Otherwise, this spirit being at, was it like 40, 52, 40, 48 or 52%, you're looking at a you're looking at a really, really high potent spirit.
It could definitely tear up your palate.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Is with all the alcohol, what's going to happen is that it's going to really rip up your palate and make it hard to taste anything else. And if you see that it's getting cloudy, this is what's going on, is that the natural oils that are suspended within the spirit are starting to get released by the water. And if we get a good angle over here, we can see that the oil is actually getting separated from the spirit and it's sitting on the bottom. This is kind of that mystical thing, that kind of unique element, this kind of ritual that you do while you're doing your absinthe, while you're mixing your absinthe.
And this is the fun part to talk about too. During this whole process, this is when you're going to try to sell your spiel to the guest as the luge or this cloudiness takes form in the glass? Give them the story, Yano.
All right. Well, absinthe was developed by a Frenchman, and he wasn't allowed to make it, so he had to go to Switzerland. And during that process, a couple things happened. The French military was given absinthe as rations while they were fighting in North Africa. And the absinthe was put in their rations for a multitude of reasons. One of them is that the alcohol was so high that it would purify water. So you were coming up onto a stream and you wanted to get some water and you weren't sure if it was going to be clean or not, you'd be able to put a little bit of this absinthe in there and it would make it palatable, or not palatable to drink, but safe to drink. You'd be able to clean your gun. You'd be able to pour it on infection. It would clean off all the bacteria if you're actually getting sick with it or getting infected. Now, what happened with that is that the military, they got a taste for it. When they came back from war, they were going into the cafes ordering Monsieur Absinthe, Monsieur Absinthe. And that really caught on, especially for the common person, because at the time, the aristocracy that was ruling France really was a problem. They making issues for anybody that was a common folk. So this became a really popular beverage. Now, at the same time, what was interesting is that there was also a parasite that was going through the vineyards of Spain called phylloxera. Phylloxera, what it did is it decimated the wine industry and made it to where only the rich would be able to afford the wine, and absinthe actually became more accessible for the average person and also had a higher alcohol content. Now, because of that, the wine lobby was upset. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to ban absinthe. So one of the ingredients in absinthe is actually called wormwood. Wormwood has a neurotoxin called thujone. Thujone is what's said that would make you hallucinate. Now, the funny thing is there's about as much thujone in here as there is as cyanide in apples. So if you were to try to hallucinate by drinking absinthe, you would have to drink enough that would probably kill you from alcohol poisoning before it's real deal. It's real deal. You would die from alcohol poisoning before you would hallucinate. One of the things that people say why they saw green fairies back then is that there was also a really popular intoxicant back then called opium. Now, opium itself, of course, if you're drinking a high-proof spirit and smoking opium, you're definitely going to see something. I mean, I don't know. I've been told. I wouldn't be able to comment on anything like that. So that's our basic story about what absinthe is. Now, there's always going to be somebody that either like went to Vegas or someone that went to the Czech Republic in high school for an exchange student program or something along those lines, and they're going to say that they got to try the real absinthe. And people are going to ask you all the time. They're going to say, is this the real absinthe? The answer is yes. This is the real absinthe.
It is the real absinthe.
What does it mean to be real absinthe? It needs to have wormwood. And that's the long and short of it. I mean, that's honestly it. And one of the things that we're trying to do with this actual cart is to kind of make it a unique experience. So over here we have some mortal and pestils that are going to have some of the herbs that come along in here. Here we have fennel. Here we have coriander. And then here we have star anise. Now these aren't the exact herbs. The anise is a little different. The fennel's a little different. But they pretty much get the idea on what the flavors are. This is where the tweezers are going to live. Here's where all the absinthe spoons are. I would love this weekend to show you a little bit more in depth on the absinthe spoons and also to have you taste the spirit. Now the spirit itself, it tastes like licorice.
It's delicious.
It is very delicious. So there's no other two ways to talk about it. Tastes like licorice. But it's delightful. So there you go. There you have it.
That's delicious.
It is delicious. That list will be provided for you all this weekend. And thanks for listening. And if you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise,
Ta-da!
ta-da.